let's talk about the Bills and the Patriots together. We have a little more time than I expected, which is fine, because I think this is an interesting one. And I'm not even sure. Well, I've known this if it's the reverse AFC power rankings or just regular conversation, I have had the same instinct on the Patriots I'm not going to put this in the reverse context to make it all weird and confusing. I've had the same instinct to put the Patriots down. But do they deserve it? Is what I'm asking myself here today when we wrap up the power rankings and they're at 6, even though they won 14 games, didn't they? 13 or 14 games, 2 playoff games. The first way to put a dent in that accomplishment by far is their famously, historically weak schedule. But, the Bills have had years of that. What was the one year, maybe 2022 or in that range, where the Bills did get criticized for, as if they had anything to do about it or with it, they got criticized for not playing or beating anybody good. Maybe they go to Baltimore and get beat that Sunday night game that year, or Tennessee. That's a different year, but in that there was a period of time when this was said about them, that they weren't maybe as good as their record because they weren't beating good teams. And I always said the same thing to that, which is what I would say to the last year's Patriots, if it holds up. I think it might, or any other team getting scrutinized like that, is, well, what are the game scores? And what the Bills did that year, I think it's 22, maybe. What the Bills did this one year in question was they just killed everybody. They played bad teams, but they killed them. And, that's good enough for me. You can't control your schedule. We know that. And if you're going to play weak opponents, bury them. That's how you can show yourself to be a good team or a great team when you're not playing the other good or great teams in the league. So the schedule point about the Patriots last year only goes so far. Not only did I don't know how many blowouts they had. I guess I could look. But, they won all those games after they started 1-2, I think. And they lost to the Raiders and they lost to Pittsburgh, both at home. In the Pittsburgh game, they might have had 5 turnovers or even 6. They fumbled at the 1-yard line a couple times. Really a fluky outcome. Still, it happens. And then they went the rest of the year and they lost once more to the Bills in Foxborough. Late, they were 1-2, and they went I think to 14-3. And so, yeah, easy schedule, but what did they do with it? They crushed it. So, all right, well, that is what sometimes I'll think about right away when it comes to New England, is well, how good were they really? And I think they probably deserve some credit for being good. What else? Whatever happened with Mike Vrabel, I think they're kind of through it. Don't you? Maybe there'll be some next shoe to drop, some consequence that I'm not going to even try to predict from whatever that was. But I thought at the time this could be the kind of thing where he might step away, or maybe it would compromise his authority in the locker room. I guess there might still be some of that, but I don't hear anybody talking about it anymore. And they play in Seattle week 1. I thought they wouldn't get that game because of the scandal, the perceived scandal, and just that NBC would want to avoid that as a topic for opening night. That didn't happen. They did get the game with Seattle. So I don't think that's really a deal right now, probably. You want?
I don't. It almost happened at the perfect time, I guess, for them. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen. But yeah, it almost now would feel weird if it's brought up on opening night, because it's been so many months. We've gotten the football thing going on now. It would almost be weird. I think on the schedule point where I sit with New England, you play the schedule you get. This is not college where you get to pick the teams, and if you got a weak schedule, that kind of points a finger at you. For me, it's more, they didn't play a top 10 defense throughout the regular season, and their offense was wonderful. Drake May was great, the whole thing. They get into the playoffs, and this is sort of where I sit with C.J. Stroud too, and it was so bad offensively. They got through their opponents. You have to do that. You have to get somewhat lucky to get to Super Bowl. I get that. But they went from averaging 28 points per game to 16 in the playoffs. They only go over 20 points one time, and that's against Houston. They're not a bad team, I don't think. But at least with the Bills, I have years now in a row of thinking, okay, yeah, you're going to be fine. You're going to get through this. You're going to do your thing. Where New England, they were really bad. Get Vrabel. They're really good 1 year. Now what do we think? I mean, even the A.J. Brown stuff. I think you brought it up a couple weeks ago, like who would you rather have, A.J. Brown or DJ Moore? On paper, probably A.J. Brown.
It's not close for me.
It's not close, but I do get worried about the knee.
Yeah, well.
And the fact that I think 2 years ago, like late in the year with Philadelphia, he's got to get his knee drained every week. Like that kind of makes me concerned a little bit. I think he works perfectly with Drake May, who did great deep ball passing and being more of a vertical threat. The way I look at it is just in some ways similar to Denver. It was so sudden and so much that there probably is somewhat of a comeback. And I think the playoffs sort of showed maybe where they really were, which is not a bad team by any means.
Well, a few things. I think what probably happens on opening night is it's mentioned. Does it have to be? I don't know if it has to be. I don't think it's going to be like a big drawn-out conversation because nobody wants to have that conversation, and in public, really. So I think that is probably what we get from the opener from NBC. I mean, wins are wins.
Oh, yeah.
And in the playoffs, they didn't give up much, and there was one game played in a blizzard for a half. Like, I don't want to penalize them so much for that. They did turn the ball over 8 times in 4 postseason games, including the Super Bowl. I just think what has been evident in these power rankings is, and it was, I would say, again, the case today, where you could even draw the line before Indianapolis. You get about halfway through the conference. And this also omits the Steelers, who've only won that division a couple of times here. Like, it really is hard to separate. And, it's different arguments, different weeks. I have trouble with the Bills at 1 because why? Like, what did they do to earn 1? They lost to Denver. They beat Jacksonville, which was a good win on the road in the playoffs. They only split with New England. They lost the division to New England. And then you have other, if you will, kind of legacy teams, the Chiefs and the Ravens, who I don't think necessarily either deserve to be at the top, bottom, right? Sprained foot/toe, top/bottom. I mean, I'm not in any hurry to do that, but you got to pick somebody. And Denver, this was interesting to me last week at one point that, like, how does Denver, what if you put Denver to the test as the AFC's top team, how do they look under that microscope? I mean, they did get the 1. They did win the game against the Bills in the playoffs, then lost to New England. They had the bye, so it's only the 1 win. But they've been to the playoffs 2 years in a row. Coach is proven. Quarterback is not on the Josh Allen level, but he's on a certain level. I mean, I think he has to be respected at least. So everybody in this group, there's a kind of easy point to make against them. Who's the best? I mean, it's just talk. It's not games yet. We're just having a conversation. But I've got Buffalo, Baltimore, Kansas City, Cincinnati, say. 4 teams that have been good to great at different points. The Bengals are a little bit of a asterisk here, but still, they made the Super Bowl and the Bills didn't and the Ravens didn't. So you've got like 4 teams that have been so much of the conversation about the AFC power structure for the last 5 to 7 years. And none of them is coming off a first-place season. 2 of them have quarterbacks coming off injuries. Burrow has a bit of a history himself. You've got the Bengals and the Chiefs were 6-11 teams, right? So you have that juxtaposed with New England, Denver, I want to say Jacksonville too. I don't know what I want to do with Houston for this. Houston has won that division 2 years in a row. So maybe Houston. They're neither kind of new, nor are they kind of legacy. I don't think Houston really belongs in either bucket. New England, Denver, Jacksonville are newer to the conversation, and thus we have maybe more doubts about them because it just hasn't been long enough, which, that's reasonable. Houston and Pittsburgh, to me, are maybe more in the same bucket of teams where they've just been there and they've won divisions. They've been playoff teams, but have largely fallen flat. I mean, Houston wins a playoff game last year. It's against Pittsburgh, and they win by a ton. So anyway, it's just sort of, maybe it's all kind of obvious. It's just interesting to try to rank them. Not always are these rankings so interesting to do, but I think this summer it's been kind of cool for having so many teams in the AFC conversation, and any given day, there'll be something that comes to mind that makes me want to do it differently. The Bills end up 1, and if we ran that back tomorrow, I'd be like, what claim do they have to be 1? You don't have any AFC titles. You don't have a first-place season last year. You lost to another team in the conference. You lost to a couple of these teams multiple times in the playoffs. What exactly makes you 1? But then it's like, all right, well, who has the better case, or who has the best case in the AFC? I like this year and this offseason for that. And that's, who have I not mentioned? Like the Chargers Brad was conflicted about them when we did the rankings last hour, because the Chargers are, you think about their history, nobody likes their history. They're always criticized for being overhyped. And okay, well, fair enough. I think Herbert is the best MVP bet on the board. And he's not even that great a price. But at 10-1 in that range, he hasn't won one. I think this sets up to be a year where, they have to win the AFC West probably. I always say about the MVP, it's the quarterback of a team that won its division that, probably won at least 12 games. The Chargers probably will have to do that. But it's not crazy to think that they will, I think. So there's a team that maybe is the easiest to dismiss of all these guys because they have a history of disappointing. You have to be pretty good to earn that history. The Bills have somewhat that history in the last 6 years, don't they? Right? I mean, for all the winning they've done, then the playoffs come around and they kind of blow it. And the Chargers are maybe a poor man's version of them in this way. I think what's kind of fun about LA as a bet, or just sort of as an idea in this sort of context, is that exact thing, that they are the easiest team to dismiss because you have nothing. You have Sam Monson's MVP vote for Herbert. You have playoff flops. You have injuries, and they might have had a bad one today with the center going down. I mean, that could be major for a team. The Chargers suffered last year with their tackles hurt, and it really affected them. You don't want to lose your center, and he's actually good, right? He's a name we know. Yeah, it's just really fun to try to figure that out. It's fun, but it's also, that there's really nothing to figure out. It's still just going to be totally subjective, and Bulldog is big on the Bengals, which is fine. They have had some bad years. They've had a terrible defense. They have the Ravens and even the Steelers to have to beat out. They won 6 games last year with their guys. I mean, not for the whole year, but for a good enough Burrow, half the year last year. Still, what kind of season is that? How much, this is really the question. With any of these teams, how much respect do they really deserve? Well, the point I keep thinking of with them is that on the apps where you can see a point spread for every game on the schedule, they are favored 15 times. It's only 17 games. The Bengals are favored 15 times. There's a schedule worth taking a second look at, if that's true. So to me, and this Bulldog and I are different on them, to me, it's a little bit of a form of the Chargers point. They've got to do it before I'm willing to give them that benefit of the doubt. The Chargers have had better seasons of late than the Bengals have. So at least there's that. Not that they've gone far, but they've gotten in. They've just they got to do it, Cincinnati, for as many times as they're favored and as much as we love their wide receivers and their quarterback. I don't know. That's just, I've looked forward to having a chance to stretch out on the AFC. It just happened because our guest, that didn't work out. But I'd love to hear some feedback. Like, who would be your number one? Do the Bills have claim to that? Do the Broncos? How many teams like really could be number one? When we've done these rankings, it's been Denver, it's Buffalo today, it's been Jacksonville, and there's New England. And I don't know, like if you want to bring history into it, it's not recent history other than last year with the Patriots, but there's a ton of it. If you want to talk about what it might be worth organizationally to have a championship history, I mean, they've got a stack of trophies. So that could be mentioned in their favor, I think, too, even though the players are probably all different since then. 803-0550 for your calls. We've got Matt Collar coming up at 5. So lines open for you now. This is Mike Schopp on WGR.